I'll be back from the break now. We head into our coffee court discussions this evening with the coffee sector pushing on initiatives and roadmaps to attain industrial production targets, as well as many challenges that remain unsolved. And of course, the sector and the entire stakeholders continue to look for ways to overcome. Tonight in the Coffee Court, Ronan Nahawe interacts with Siatini's Executive Director, Jen Nalunga, to explore major areas of concern and where the private sector as well as government should take the interventions. Let's get it.
Hello there, you're welcome to yet again another episode of Coffee Court. And today's episode of Coffee Court is quite special because we are looking at the strategic plans for intensifying the coffee sector in Uganda. Now, coffee, we all know, is currently the largest foreign exchange earner and the largest employer in agriculture in regards to Uganda. So this discussion or conversation is very pertinent because Siatini Uganda is holding a very insightful or a discussion we should look out for in regards to intensifying coffee sector. And with me is the ED, Madam Jen Nalunga from Siatini Uganda, who is going to talk to us or set the trend for the conversation.
Thank you so much, and good evening, our viewers. I'm so happy to be here on the Coffee Court.
So that's the roadmap for the Uganda Coffee Development Authority is to increase the bags, 8 million bags to 20 million bags in the near future for export. Coffee is currently the second most traded commodity worldwide. And for Uganda, it is the most traded. Like I said earlier, it is the biggest or largest employer in agriculture, and it brings in the most revenue. But currently, for the last 12 consecutive months, according to the international coffee data, our exports have been decreasing. And of course, scientists or researchers attribute this to drought, they attribute this to poor research, and maybe lack of value addition. So what are your insights in that, or what is the trend as Siatini? Okay,
thank you so much. I agree entirely with you that coffee is it's our gold, you know, and it should be really our gold because it has the potential to increase our incomes at household level, but also at national level by increasing those exports, adding value. But I think we need to be clear as a country, the kind of environment we are operating in. Because you see, coffee is one of those products, or the market for coffee is very volatile, it's very unstable, you know, and we are entering that market at the lower end of the value chain because we are exporting raw beans mainly. I think around 90% or 98% of our export of coffee is raw beans. And then another challenge is that at national level we don't consume that coffee. We are exporting it. And we import the finished product, the coffee we take. So I think we need to, if we are to strengthen our coffee sector so that it's meaningful for everybody, all value chain actors, we need to look at those challenges when it comes to production, challenges when it comes to processing, challenges when it comes to consumption and also export. Where are we when it comes to production? What are the challenges and how do we address it? So for each segment of the value chain, we need to be conversant over the challenges and also looking at the solutions, whether the current solutions are working or not. But for me, I think we need to government needs to put more effort in that analysis.
Maybe to paint the picture very deep for you and depict it real good, the global market generates around $460 billion US. That is by last year. Now, the companies that trade in coffee globally generate 25 billion US dollars. Only 25, including Brazil, Kenya, and Colombia, Uganda inclusive. And do you know how much Uganda makes or generates from this? Only 0.07%. And this is a country that is ranked as one of the biggest, exporter of coffee. We have a variety of coffee that is really nice. So the issues vary, and I want us to digest deep into them. Let's begin with value addition. Intensifying the product right away from the baristas, the processors, to the cup, whether in Uganda or abroad. How best can value addition be intensified?
Okay, how do we intensify value addition? We need to ask ourselves, when we talk about value addition, what are we looking at? Is it getting soluble coffee or not? Because what you have said is true. Our share of the entire cake of the coffee business is very small, but we are the basis of that business because we are the people who grow coffee. But because we are selling raw coffee beans, that's why we have that 0.07 whatever, and that one also fluctuates every year, because we don't control the price at that global level. There are efforts at global level to see how they stabilize the prices at the global market. That's an issue at that level, because by the way, they need our coffee and they want us to continue growing. So that's another issue altogether. But back home, when we talk about value addition and our desire to sell soluble coffee, to sell powdered coffee, there is a challenge, because in Europe, I have been to Europe a number of times anyway, it's so difficult to take coffee. Starbucks, coffee is expensive. You go even at the airport, coffee is very expensive, because they also have a culture, they want to brew the coffee there, the aroma, coffee shops and all that. And it might be difficult for us to penetrate that market, even the distance between here and those countries. You process it here, by the time it reaches there, the time difference and all that.
So what you're saying is the soluble coffee for Uganda is unattainable? It
can be, but it will also require a lot of branding, because markets are also looked for and negotiated. For me, what I think, one, we need to look for new markets. Maybe in Asia, Arab countries, we can be able to penetrate those markets instead of the European market. Two, we need to diversify when we talk about value addition for coffee. Some time back, I went to Nakori. Nakori is where is it? In Mukono, Chichusa. They are doing some experiments in adding value to coffee with the creams. The creams are amazing. I have a number of friends who are making oil, coffee oil. It's amazing for the skin, the scrubs, the soaps. So we can break into that. The drinks, there are countries which do coffee wine. I see coffee warage, I don't know how good it is, but that's also an area which we can break into.
Yeah.
So we need to diversify when we talk about processing, because now when we talk about processing coffee, it has been coffee powder and all that. But again, we also need at national level here, at domestic level, we need also to look at our consumption of coffee, We don't consume our coffee. Most of us don't take coffee, and maybe it's really interesting, because the white man who brought coffee told us, don't drink it. It will bring palpitation. We care for your,
say it's medicinal.
We care for your health, but you bring it to us, So we started taking tea, and we are tea people. But we need also to change that.
So we're brainwashed.
Brainwashed, sort of. We need to change that. Know that coffee is also good for our health. Drink our own coffee. But we also need, because even that brainwashing, we have been to a number of hotels. You know, they have Nescafe, you know. And the lower hotels, by the way, they have coffee from India and Indonesia. You know, we need to change that. We need to drink our coffee, because also we need to link our coffee to tourism. But you go to a hotel full of tourists and they are taking Nescafe. How do you expect that tourist to go in the supermarket and buy your coffee and take it to where she's coming from? Because she hasn't drank it. She doesn't even know that Uganda will produce coffee, you know. So we need to change that mindset. Maybe
away from value addition, let's look at the trees, the seeds. One of the stakeholders at this gathering I talked to you earlier about was saying that we need to look beyond. Farmers need to stop crying to government for help. They need to look at how they can make their trees resistant to drought, like other countries can.
I don't agree when you say farmers shouldn't cry to government. Government is there to serve their people. So if they can't cry to government, whom are they going to cry to? You know, the farmers are there to produce. Government is there to ensure that the farmers have standard and, you know, proper inputs, whether they are seedlings, whether they are pesticides, whether they are fertilizers. That's the role of government. And I think government has to play a bigger role there. We have been as Siatini, we work in Mubende, we work in with the coffee farmers and also in Bugesu. But one of the biggest challenge are the inputs, the seedlings. You ask, where did you get that one? I got it from somewhere. This is cutting C, this is cutting D. This is what, you know, farmers are confused out there. Government has been able to license some nurseries, but farmers don't even know that. They don't know. We went to Nakori. Nakori is coming up with very nice varieties, but the link to the farmers is a bit tenuous. You know, so government has to. I think we need more
research.
The research is being done. I think they are doing some good work when it comes to research. But extension workers, who would be the link between that very good research and the farmers? But you go to a number of villages, they are on their own, and they are their own expert. You sit with every farmer is an expert. Farmer will tell you, don't do cutting, you see, that's bad. Another one will say, cutting it is okay. So we need, because this is where our value chain starts from, the farmers and production. And we need quality production. And we are missing on that.
Yeah. There's also an issue of foreigners eating the bigger cake, especially foreigners that are invested in the coffee sector. They mentioned that 80% is taken by these foreigners. Now, domestically, us or locally, we are consuming around the 20. So you look at the private sector and then you see financing and funding. And what they're requesting for is something, not free money. Or these loans, they don't want free money. They want to be funded or to a capacity where they can compete, or the exporters can compete favorably and be able to, you know, make or eat the biggest cake of this share. What is your take on financing the private sector and funding? I
think financing for the private sector, right from, and when we talk about the private sector, by the way, the smallholder producer is also private sector. Yeah. So funding the entire value chain, there are challenges, because you remember we had all these development banks, we had the cooperative banks, we had the cooperatives. So for me, I think government need to regulate, need to play a more visible role in the coffee value chain. The cooperatives are very, very important for the farmers in terms of providing inputs, in terms of pricing, in terms of quality, in terms of marketing. So when it comes to finance, it has to come from the beginning of the value chain up to the top, you know. But now, you know, the biggest challenge at the production level when it comes to financing is that those smallholder farmers don't have money even to sustain themselves. And what do? There is a term of selling a flower. Selling a flower, selling a season. When the coffee flowers, then they will sell. If there are many flowers, the middleman will come and say, for this 1 acre, I'm giving you 1 million. You know, they will take 1 million. Then sometimes they will buy a season. That now for this season, I'm buying your garden of coffee. 1 acre, 1 million. And what they do when they buy the season, they will remove all the coffee, whether it's red, whether it's red, whether it's still green, they will take everything. This is affecting the quality of our coffee, but this is also affecting the farmers, their poverty. At the end of the day, they will leave growing coffee, they go into other things. And what you talked about, the coffee bags will go down. You know, so there is a lot which needs to be done for the from the farm and across the entire value chain, even the post-harvest handling. You know, it isn't good. You know, so we need to see how do we reorganize back, because this isn't rocket science. It used to be done in my home in Masaka. Part of our courtyard, our compound is cement. And this isn't for just my home alone. All those old homes, part of the compound is cement to ensure that you are putting your coffee on cement. The coffee is good, you know. But now because of the middlemen, they are harvesting green coffee, unripe coffee, you know, and it's affecting the pricing and the quality.
Maybe as we conclude this conversation, what should the viewers that are watching this conversation look out for this discussion that you are yet to have? Because I believe you have invited very pertinent guests that are very keen in this discussion.
Yes. For our conversation tomorrow, we have tried to bring everybody across the value chain to be able to discuss all these issues which I have touched on a little bit, to be able to discuss them more deeply and to be able to chart a way forward, especially given what do we need to do, what needs to be done. And it's also good, this conversation is also happening when we are talking about issues of the budget. Where should the budget go? Because we need to invest money, you know, in the coffee value chain if we are going to get a substantial amount out of it. This is also a time when we are discussing issues of taxation. What should be taxed? Because maybe what we didn't talk about when it comes to value addition, some of the processors are saying that the packaging material is taxed a lot. There is a lot of taxes on it. And this is a time for us to be able to agree that let us reduce taxes on material, maybe on the processing, or, you know. So yes, tomorrow's conversation is going to look at all those issues.
We look forward to that, and thank you for this insightful conversation. That will lead us to the end of Coffee Court. And as Uganda prepares to aim higher for the 20 million bags, we are still lagging at around 5 to 6. We hope that the government and the concerned stakeholders engage in sustainability in regards to human resource, value addition, soluble coffee, and whatever it needs to put this coffee, the Ugandan famous coffee, to the market.
And with that, we now do come to the end of business today. But first, let's have a rewind of our top stories. Tonight, in Business Today, the oil and gas opportunities, national content portfolio in the oil and gas sector to be exploited as sector players push for capacity building through skilling. Also, Karamoja Relief inquest yields as Karamoja Relief probe forces reaction. House Speaker Anita Among finds way out of looming hell as she returns 500 iron sheets. And in clean energy efficiency, the NGO's banking sector take on initiative to enforce Uganda's approach towards climate protection. Clean cooking mechanisms have been embarked on. I'm Gerald Paul, so good with Winnie Wins and Akochi in sign language, and we've been here for Smart 24 TV's Business Today. From Plot for the 2 Nile Avenue, from the entire newsroom, production and the editorial, we do wish you a good evening and a blessed night till tomorrow. Good night.